Hello? This is Ken. Is there anyone listening? Come on. I repeat, this is Ken on channel 595. Is there anyone listening? Hello? If you're listening, can I get some kind of feedback? Bollocks. Looks like I'm going to need more than a walkie-talkie to communicate with anyone out here. And then there's that shambling mess downstairs too. Checking the entrance downstairs. Yep, that's a group of infected, alright. Getting their attention one by one seemed like the best idea, so I started leading them upstairs. While fighting, I was lucky enough to find a hand axe on another infected, but before I could celebrate, there was still more that needed dealing with. After most of the infected in my new base were dealt with, I then took to the streets to try and lure the rest hiding nearby to walk them someplace else. For now, my plan was to try and find some kind of vehicle to make as much noise as I could, while also trafficking as many infected in the area back to the main city, or at the very least far enough away from me. I saw a large pile-up of vehicles nearby, so hopefully I could find one that was working. While there weren't any working vehicles, I did end up coming upon a couple of news vans, thinking that I might be lucky enough to find myself a much better radio. Nope, no luck. Continuing on, I eventually found a parked ranger's truck. While it didn't have any keys, it did still however have the sirens, which could help me bring the infected away from my new base. So, turning on the sirens, found another ambulance, and yet again there was still not any biotics to help me if I were to get sick, so I just made sure to be extra careful. Turns out that hand axe wasn't as useful for very long as I was hoping, and I had to swap it out for a wrench in the boot of another nearby car. Didn't hold onto the wrench for very long though, as I did end up finding another pipe that I could use while inspecting another nearby police vehicle. While it didn't have any ammo, unfortunately, it did have some new boots that I could use. Still couldn't find any working vehicles nearby, but I did spot a small group of infected heading my way, so I decided to take a shortcut through an alley. I then noted down that when it came to exploring the city, these alleys would make for a decent escape route. couldn't find any working vehicles, but that didn't mean I still couldn't use their horns to try and bring more infected to me. I tried to sneak back home, but yeah, more infected had found their way inside, so it was time for some more cat and mouse. As I was slowly luring away the nightmare conger, well, bollocks. Yep, another random mist rolled over, meaning that the shambling murder pile that was currently following me was now much stronger, and trying to lose them would be a lot harder. Running through the mist, I circled back to my base and ran upstairs to hide from any infected that were still somewhat clever enough to track me. So my 24th day in Nox was kind of a waste. I left trying to lure some infected away, but only ended up dragging more closer to my location. So, heading to bed, I slept hoping that I'd have a much better luck the next day. Preparing for whatever was to come my way on the 25th day, I checked the entrance to see that there were still some infected nearby. So, going downstairs, I got their attention and ran for the streets. Decided to test my luck heading back the way I came for the first few days. Looks like it was my lucky day, as not a block away I did end up finding a working vehicle. So, driving it all around my base, I then began making as much noise as I could to try and successfully get all of the infected nearby to move closer to me. After a few minutes of being Raven Creek's loudest alarm clock, I had to abandon the car and sneak my way back to my hopefully now empty base, using alleyways to hide from any giant horde that was now following me because of my noise. Arriving back home, I finished off the remaining infected again, and while looking for something that could help me block off the front gate. Had to settle with a futon, for now. It wouldn't stop the infected from climbing over it, but it would at least disrupt their path when they would come wandering in. With the last of the infected dealt with, I then began moving any furniture in the area to help block the entrances to my base. After which, I then spent the rest of the evening moving bodies so as to not catch some kind of plague from their rotting corpses. That was when I ran into a cement mixer. That was definitely stronger than the cardboard boxes I was currently using, so after moving that to the first floor, I headed back upstairs, grabbed something to eat, and then went to bed hoping to wake up to a, hopefully, empty base. The next morning, I carefully snuck downstairs and was happy to see that the cement mixer successfully blocked out the infected. But now I had to find something else to block the other apartment, as they were climbing through there now. decided to finally check out the sheds to the north of my base. Without a key, I could only check the ones that were open. In one I found a few mechanical things and a flare. Never really got the chance to use one, so thought I might as well take it. The other one, however, had a bunch of sports equipment, so I wouldn't have to worry about finding more blunt weapons anytime soon. I eventually ended up back at the dentist's office. When I entered, I was hoping to find maybe some kind of small radio in the reception, but instead I found a back room full of medical supplies. Not exactly what I was looking for, but I was still definitely taking whatever I could carry in my bag home. Further to the east, there was a clothing store. While I was in need of some new clothes, as the cold was slowly rolling in, I instead decided to leave room for a radio. Besides, if I was that desperate, I could just walk over here from my base. And then, to the east of that, a mall. It didn't really look like a mall. In fact, it was probably one of the smallest malls I'd ever seen. Still though, there was a chance that there could be an electronics store inside, so, heading in. The first aisle that I came to was selling musical wares, CDs, instruments, speakers, stuff like that. So there had to be an electronics store somewhere to help power this stuff. That was when I found an aisle that was selling some torches. I didn't know how frequent blackouts were in the city, so it made sense to try and grab as many batteries as I could find. It was about time that my bad luck took a turn, because eventually I found a portable radio. One that the people of Nox could use to communicate through. It would also have a much stronger signal than the walkie-talkie that I was carrying around. I also took the time to grab some spare electrical magazines in case the radio wasn't functioning properly. At the very least I could attempt to fix it. Not wanting to test my luck any further, I didn't bother searching the rest of the mall. On my way out, however, I spotted a nice warm red sports car in the lot nearby. And the keys to drive it too. Inspecting the engine, all green, and a full tank. Could this day get any better? Rather than park it in the shed, like a normal person would, I decided to use it as a barricade for my base to block out the infected from getting in. Yeah, they could still crawl underneath, but it would still block their path enough to avoid breaking into my base. Getting back home, I decided to call it early. This was probably my luckiest day in Raven Creek since I got here, and that's when I decided to celebrate it by socialising with whoever was out there. If I were lucky, I could perhaps contact some kind of nearby news team to call for help and maybe tell them about everything that's going on. Otherwise, I would probably be trying to contact whatever military team was nearby to turn myself in and get out of Nox as swiftly as I got in. Alright, here goes nothing. Testing, testing. This is Ken on channel 595. I'm in Raven City, Nox County. Anyone there? You kidding? Still no signal? Maybe if I...
Hospital.
Oh, that... Yes! Hello? Can you hear me?
Charlie.
Hello?
Coop.
Bugger.
Hospital. Anybody? Rick.
Someone named Charlie is near the hospital. That's not far away from me.
Hospital. Anybody? Rick.
Alright. Tomorrow, I guess I'm heading to the hospital. Well, with nothing else better to do, Day 27 was going to be mostly me trying to get to the hospital. Grabbing my bag and the police armor, I headed straight downstairs. Checking the window, it seemed pretty safe outside. Guess because of my cleverly placed barricades, they couldn't break in. Oh, sweet Jesus, they broke in. Oh, and they're moving fast as well. Okay, that's fine. I can deal with this. Just one at a time. Nope, nope, never mind. Too many. Yep, definitely still a nope. Okay, after that small heart attack, I guess the hospital was going to have to wait. I couldn't just leave my base unprotected at a time like this, so new plan. Find more working vehicles and block off the windows to keep the infected from getting in. Yeah, good plan. Using some vehicles' horns nearby, I could successfully lure out the rest of the infected that were currently hiding inside my new base. At first I wanted to try and find that car that I used a couple of days ago to lure that crazy amount of infected, but now the streets were littered with potential buyers. I tried to hide in some alleyways to lose them, but... Yep, both of the exits were blocked by infected. Great. Oh, and perfect, they have got me boxed in. Well, with nowhere else to go, I blindly entered a building, hoping that there wasn't a surprise horde waiting in there for me. Using a window at the back of the building, I was able to loop back to the courtyard and escape through a small car park nearby. Dodging the infected left and right, my dangerous journey for a working vehicle continued. I guess I ran my luck completely dry, because the best thing that I could do for now was try and draw more infected away from my base using the horn of cars that I couldn't even move. Back at my base, I then moved my red car from the entrance to the window that the infected were using to get inside. With one window blocked, there were still two left. Before I could continue, I wanted to clear out as many infected as I could, as the night was slowly coming in and I really didn't want to have to spend all night fighting infected off. Washing away the crimson that clung to my jacket, I didn't bother removing my weapons, because at any moment when I slept, there could be a group of infected breaking down my door. Try getting a full night's sleep with that thought in your head. With an axe in hand, Day 28 started off with me being right on the edge. The first floor was surprisingly clear, so heading back out, instead I went to the south, to perhaps maybe try my hopefully rejuvenated luck at finding a working vehicle. It took a couple hours of dodging infected and hiding through alleyways, but I eventually found some keys next to a working car. Unfortunately, its gas was completely drained, but with the amount of wrecks that were nearby, I could siphon enough to maybe get me back home. After another grueling 20 minutes of dodging more infected, I was able to circle back to the car and begin pouring some gas inside. With the infected coming close, I quickly made myself scarce and made sure to carefully drive home. The last thing I wanted to do was break down surrounded by infected in a city where I could barely escape. That was when I had a much better idea and winched a nearby truck and dragged it to the front of my base. Why bother risking another run looking for a working vehicle when there were plenty of movable wrecks nearby? At least this way, with both of the windows blocked, the infected could no longer break in. All I'd have to do now was block the entrances enough so that the infected would eventually lose interest if they were trying to get in. As much as I wanted to try and get to the hospital and find Charlie, I was done. The stress of dodging infected and trying to find a working vehicle, it was just too dangerous. So, My hope, as dark as it sounds, was that because of the amount of infected that were nearby, this Charlie bloke was probably stuck there too. So, it was set. Tomorrow, I begin my journey to finally meet up with them. God, I hope they're friendly.